that I would also take a look at.
So you wouldn't have the legislature make a payment to the pension directly. You would have it built into an agency's budget, and then the agency would fund the pensions?
This is one idea that I'm looking at to create greater accountability and greater responsibility. Obviously, Illinois can do better. To be ranked last in the country on pensions, we need to have all these ideas on the table, subject to public scrutiny and subject to negotiation.
Let me move along to some of the other issues. I know you're about on education. What do you think of education? You said you're a public school student yourself, or a product of the public schools. What kind of a job are the public schools doing in the state of Illinois? And if you are not happy with that, what would you propose as an alternative?
Well, I think by and large, we deliver a good product here on public education here in Illinois. For instance, if you take the graduation rate of Chicago out of the graduation rate of Illinois, we lead the nation in graduation rates. However, when you include Chicago in that, we drop to 13th. Now, 13 out of 50 states, that's not so bad, but it does show you how bad it is in Chicago. So I've got some specific solutions to lift the failing schools of Chicago and give the kids in the city a fighting chance for a world-class education. One of the first things that I would do as governor is, in a failing school, rather than bring the state portion, which is significant, it's 35 cents on every dollar of Chicago public school funding comes from Springfield. So we should have a lot of say in this, and we should have a lot of clout, and I would make sure that we had both. In a failing school, I would take that state contribution and I would bring the dollars local to that school rather than fund the bureaucracy. And the other thing that I would do on Chicago.
But mechanically, let's go. How would you do that? I mean, do you send a check to the principal, or who?
Well, there's local school councils.
Who would be responsible for that money then? The local school board?
There's local school councils and obviously the leadership hierarchy of the school. There would be metrics. We would have a requirement of every dime online in real time. So in real time, we could see where those dollars are being spent and be able to monitor those dollars.
Do you see the problem in the city of Chicago schools, therefore, or in other schools for that matter, as being one of bureaucracy or something else?
Well, I think that a lot of dollars are siphoned out of the classroom because of the bureaucracy. I mean, I just saw an article the other day of superintendents making $370,000 a year. I think we can do better on some of those figures.
I meant to say, and I misspoke, is it a question of financing, I mean, or something else? In other words, do you think that we're not spending enough on education, that we need to get the money directly to the schools? Is it a question of not a lack of financial resources, or is it other issues, maybe a lack of discipline in the classroom, and as some have suggested, and other things?
Well, I think in terms of funding, I think the people of Illinois are very generous. $22 billion a year goes into public education here in Illinois. In the Chicago public schools, spending per pupil is the same as it is in the Naperville public schools. The spending in Naperville comes with outdoor recess, comes with sports, band, and a world-class education. In many of the neighborhoods in the city where the same dollars are being spent, the kids aren't allowed to go outdoors for recess. They don't have sports programs. They don't have extracurricular activities like band and orchestra and art programs. So I think there needs to be accountability within that spending. I think that in total, in Illinois, we make quite a commitment. We need to make it more efficient, and we can do better. My second proposal is to institute charter schools, to bust the charter school cap in the city. There are literally, and it's an unfathomable amount of students, there's 10,000 kids that are on waiting lists for a new and innovative and unique type of public school called a charter school. Charter schools spend a third less money, the outcomes are a third better, and like anything else here in Illinois, if it's been working, they cap it. I would bust that cap and give these kids an opportunity for a charter school.
And for those who aren't familiar, I would say, if you would agree, charter schools are more or less they're public schools that are run almost like a private school. Is that a fair way to say it?
Right. They're not subject to the state mandates. Oftentimes, they're not subject to the union contracts. They are accountable and responsible for their authorization and for the renewal of their charter to the local school district, so to the local school boards. So they are public schools, but they're an innovative and unique and focused and effective type of public school.
As we sit here and tape this, it is Earth Day. Where do you stand on the environment, on environmental issues, and included in that, one of, the whole issue when we talk about the environment, it often comes down to the use of energy, how we're going to supply energy in our economy without damaging the economy. So let's talk about those issues. One of the primary energy resources, if not the primary energy resource Illinois has, is coal, which is the bad boy, so to speak, of energy when we hear from environmentalists. What are your thoughts on the use of coal and just on those issues of using energy within the environmental constraints that we have within the economy?
Yeah, I think Illinois has huge problems, whether it's economics or, like we've been talking, education or healthcare and all those other issues. In terms of the economy, as governor, I think we have to be very judicious with what we put forward in terms of the environment. I believe that good government is also green government, and that we have to be good stewards of all of our resources. And Illinois is blessed to have tremendous resources here in the state. As governor, for instance, if we would institute very tough regulation, but very good environmental controls, we would, versus the rest of the 50 states, we would quite possibly lose businesses to those other states because of our regulation. So I believe that good environment proposals should come from the federal government because it should be a level playing field for all 50 states.
Well, certain governors, in fact, Governor Blagojevich had done this, is trying to raise the air standard qualities, and of course many businesses are saying,
right,
that is going to have a detrimental impact on us, and all you're going to do is raise our energy cost and inhibit some of the economy. So to that extent, I was trying to get on your philosophical approach to balancing the environmental concerns versus the economic concerns. How generally, without going into any specific, you can offer a specific program if you have one, but just how would you approach it from a philosophical standpoint? Where's that balance in your mind?
Sure. The balance is versus our neighboring states versus the other states. I don't want to see Illinois have regulation that is tougher than these other states, because basically we're going to compound our economic problems, we're going to compound our job problems. Companies just won't come here. So I think if we're going to have good environmental policy, that should come from Washington, D.C.